Ravenswood at 2 in the morning is a different creature than it is during the day. The neon signs flicker like dying heartbeats, casting pools of red and blue light across rain-slicked streets. The air is thick with humidity, and the smell of garbage baking in the heat that never quite leaves, even at night. Somewhere in the distance, a speed bike howls through an intersection, its rider invisible in the darkness. This is when the city shows its true face. When the masks come off and Ravenswood becomes what it's always been underneath all the urban renewal projects and downtown revitalization campaigns, a place where hope goes to die. Athea Morgan knew these streets better than most. 7 years of working as a street vendor had taught her which corners were safe, which alleys to avoid, which shadows concealed danger, and which were just empty darkness. At 25, she'd already lived 3 lifetimes worth of Ravenswood's particular brand of survival. Her hands were stained from handling produce all day, her back ached from standing behind her cart for 12 hours straight, and her pockets held maybe $60 in crumpled bills and loose change. It wasn't much, but it was honest work. Or at least, that's what she told herself. Most days, Pike Alley wasn't on her usual route home. It was a narrow dead end between 2 apartment buildings, barely wide enough for 2 people to pass each other, the kind of place where trash accumulated and rats held midnight conventions. Nobody went there unless they had a reason. Athea had a reason tonight, though it wasn't one she could share with anyone. She'd made a delivery to apartment 3B, a small package containing 6 vials of clear liquid that she tried very hard not to think about. The rain was coming down in sheets, turning the alley into a shallow river. Water cascaded from fire escapes overhead, creating a rhythm that almost sounded like breathing. At first, Athea thought the bundle in the puddle was just more of Ravenswood's discarded garbage. The city shed things constantly: broken furniture, torn clothing, people's abandoned dreams made physical. But then she saw the hijab, peacock blue, spread out in the water like wings trying to catch one last flight. Then the blood. Athea's stomach lurched before her brain could process what she was seeing. She stumbled forward, her phone already in her hand, and that's when she recognized the face staring up at nothing and everything, all at once. Jasmine Rayan. The girl who bought tomatoes from her cart every Wednesday, who always left an extra dollar and said, "Keep the change, sister," with a smile that actually reached her eyes, who taught Quran to children at the Al-Noor Mosque and talked about justice like it was something that might actually exist in a place like Ravenswood. Her mouth was open in a frozen grimace, lips pulled back to reveal a dark, empty cavity where her tongue should have been. The wound was clean, surgical, precise. This wasn't the work of a frenzied killer, but someone who knew exactly what they were doing, who understood anatomy and had practiced this particular mutilation. Beside Jasmine's body, weighted down by a piece of broken brick, was a note. The ink had run in the rain, but the message was still legible. For the city's sins. Athea's scream echoed off the alley walls and came back at her like an accusation. Detective Raymond Marks had been asleep when the call came through at 2:34 in the morning. Not deeply asleep. He never slept deeply anymore. Not after 23 years of Ravenswood pulling him out of bed to look at bodies that used to be people. His apartment above the 24-hour laundromat on 5th Street was small and cramped, but it was close to the precinct, which meant he could be at a crime scene faster than most speed mattered in the first hours of a murder investigation. Evidence degraded. Memories became unreliable. The trail went cold. If you didn't move fast enough, Pike Alley was lit up like a carnival when Marks arrived, all flashing blue and red lights reflecting off puddles and wet pavement. A crowd had gathered at the police tape despite the hour. Ravenswood never truly slept, and tragedy always drew an audience. Officer Maria Chen met him at the perimeter with a face that had already seen too much tonight. 22-year-old female Jasmine Rayan, Chen reported, her voice professional but strained. Tongue removed with what looks like surgical precision. Note left at the scene. Woman who found her is in the squad car. Athea Morgan says she was taking a shortcut home. Marks ducked under the yellow tape and approached the body with the slow, careful steps of someone who'd learned to read crime scenes like other people read newspapers. Everything told a story if you knew how to look. The position of the body, the amount of blood, the way the victim's hands were positioned. All of it added up to a narrative of those final moments. Jasmine had died slowly. The tongue removal had been done while she was still alive, still conscious. Whoever did this wanted her to experience every second of it. This wasn't about killing, it was about punishing, about making a statement. The note confirmed it. For the city's sins. Mark studied the alley carefully. The rain had mostly stopped, but water still dripped from above, and puddles reflected the crime scene lights in kaleidoscope patterns. That's when he noticed the footprints, larger than Jasmine's, larger than Athea's, leading away from the body toward the alley's dead end. But there was nothing at that end except a brick wall. No door, no fire escape, no way out. The footprints simply stopped, as if the killer had walked straight into solid brick and vanished. On the wall near where the footprints ended, someone had spray-painted a symbol in white, a medical caduceus modified, so that the snakes had human tongues protruding from their mouths. It was precise, deliberate, wrong in a way that made Marks's skin crawl. In the squad car, Athea sat wrapped in a shock blanket that she didn't need. The night was humid and warm despite the rain. But shock wasn't about temperature. It was about the mind trying to process something it wasn't built to handle, about reality cracking open to show you what's underneath. Marks slid into the seat beside her and introduced himself. His voice was gentle despite the exhaustion pulling at his bones. I know tonight has been traumatic, but I need to ask you some questions while everything is still fresh. Athea nodded, not trusting her voice yet. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. How did you know the victim? I didn't really know her. She bought vegetables from my cart sometimes Wednesdays, usually. Always polite. Athea's voice cracked on the last word. She bought mint and cucumbers yesterday. Said she was making tabbouleh for her students. What were you doing in Pike Alley at 2 a.m? There it was. The question Athea had known was coming and didn't have a good answer for. Going home. I work late, have to pack up my cart and secure everything. It takes time. Pike Alley isn't on the route from 5th Street to your apartment on Foster. I vary my route, for safety. It was a reasonable lie, wrapped in just enough truth to sound plausible. The real reason involved a delivery to apartment 3B and 6 vials of something she tried not to think too hard about. Mark studied her with eyes that had learned to read people the way most read books. He noticed things, the chemical burns on her hands, the way her knee bounced nervously, the split-second hesitation before each answer. Did you see anyone else? Hear anything unusual? Just the rain. And then I saw her, and I screamed and called 911. Do you know anyone who might have wanted to hurt Jasmine Rayan? No. The answer came too fast, and Athea knew it the moment the word left her mouth. You answered that very quickly. Because it's true. Jasmine was good, pure, the kind of person this city eats alive. The phrase hung in the humid air between them. The kind of person this city eats alive. Almost exactly the sentiment expressed in the note found beside the body. Marks handed her his card. If you remember anything else, call me, day or night. As their fingers touched briefly, Marks noticed the small circular burns on her hands, the kind that come from handling concentrated chemicals without proper protection. He filed that observation away for later. After Athea was driven home, Marks stood in the alley and listened to the crowd's whispers, seeping through the police tape like smoke. It's the man in white again. Third one this month. My cousin saw him once, said he moved like he wasn't quite solid. He's a ghost, a doctor who died in that hospital fire 10 years ago. No, he's real. He's judgment. He's what happens when Ravenswood finally fights back against all the evil. The man in white. An urban legend that had been circulating through Ravenswood for months, growing more elaborate with each retelling. Some said he was a vengeful doctor. Others claimed he was a ghost. Still others insisted he was some kind of divine punishment made flesh. Marks didn't believe in ghosts or divine punishment. But he believed in patterns, and this was the third murder in as many months with the same signature. Tongue removed, cryptic note, No witnesses, no evidence except whispered stories of a figure in white. Back at his car, Marks pulled up the previous case files on his tablet. The similarities were impossible to ignore. Victim 1, Marcus Cole, a homeless veteran who ran a soup kitchen in the warehouse district. Found 6 weeks ago, tongue removed, note reading. The voice of charity silenced. Victim 2, Rebecca Santos, an investigative journalist working on a corruption story about City Hall, found 3 weeks ago. Tongue removed, note reading. Truth dies here. And now Jasmine Rayan, a teacher who taught children about justice and speaking up for those who couldn't speak for themselves. Someone was systematically silencing the people trying to make Ravenswood better. The people who dared to care, to speak out, to be voices for the voiceless. But who and why? Marks's phone buzzed with a text from Chen. Found something in the victim's phone. You need to see this ASAP. In the mobile forensics van, Chen handed Marks Jasmine's phone, now sealed in an evidence bag. The screen was cracked but functional, open to a text conversation from 3 days ago. The last message Jasmine had sent read, I know what you're doing. I know what you're all doing. I'm going to the police tomorrow. You can't silence everyone. God sees everything, even in Ravenswood. The response, sent 3 minutes later. God sees, God judges, God purifies. You should have stayed silent, sister. And then, chillingly, the man in white is coming for you? Marks felt ice slide down his spine despite the humid night. Pull the records for that number. Already did. Burner phone, activated 2 weeks ago, used only to text Jasmine. Untraceable. What about her call history? Chen scrolled through the log, mostly family and students. But one number appears frequently over the past month. Dozens of calls, some lasting over an hour. It's registered to an organization called the Church of Urban Redemption. Everyone in Ravenswood knew that name. Pastor Michael Knox, the televangelist who filled the converted warehouse on Industrial Boulevard with thousands of people every Sunday. Who preached about cleansing the city of moral corruption, who talked about purification, like it was something physical, something that could be achieved through will and faith and ruthless dedication. Get me everything on Knox, Marks ordered. Membership lists, financial records, everything. As dawn began breaking over Ravenswood's skyline, turning the sky from black to bruised purple, Marks stood outside the forensics van and felt the weight of what was coming. This wasn't just a murder investigation anymore. This was something bigger, something darker, something that had roots spreading through Ravenswood like poison through veins. Somewhere in the city, the man in white was watching, waiting for his next victim, and Marks had a terrible feeling that Athea Morgan knew exactly who he was. At 6:47 in the morning, just as Marks was about to head home for a shower and maybe 3 hours of sleep, his phone rang again. The exhaustion in his bones turned instantly to adrenaline when he heard the dispatcher's voice. Detective, we've got another body. Same method, same signature. You need to get to the Church of Urban Redemption immediately. Marks's hand tightened on the phone. Who's the victim? There was a pause. Then, Pastor Michael Knox. The investigation had just taken a turn that nobody saw coming. The man whose church had been texting threats to Jasmine Rayan was now dead, killed in the same ritualistic way, which meant either Knox wasn't the killer after all, or there was more than one person involved in these murders, or something even more complicated was happening in the shadows of Ravenswood, something that would pull Athea Morgan, Detective Marks, and everyone connected to this case into a darkness deeper than any of them could imagine. The city that eats the pious had just claimed another victim. And morning was breaking over Ravenswood like a promise that today would be just as bloody as yesterday. Thank you for watching to the end. I hope you enjoyed this story. Stay tuned for Chapter 2 and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more video like this.